Hello. For those of you that are watching this, I'm assuming that you're a big fan of Stranger Things on Netflix, which I am too. The reason I'm doing this video is because I recently watched season 3 and noticed that there were some things going on that I'm not really sure the Duffer Brothers understood what they were doing when they did it. Because you end up with three characters at the end of season 3 that are psychologically damaged. They are Max, 11, also known as Jane from this point on, I'm assuming, and Joyce Byers. When I noticed it, I reached out, or tried to reach out, I should say, to the Duffer Brothers, and I did so through a letter, which ended up getting sent back to me as undeliverable. I've done it through emails, namely the email account that they have on Vimeo, through different websites such as like Facebook and Instagram, trying to reach them. To no avail. I've even tried calling their talent agent, who told me that it wasn't their place to do a conference call with the Duffer Brothers, that instead they only handle booking of public appearances. They referred me to the publicist, and all she's got is an email. I sent her an email, but I don't know if she's actually going to forward it or not. Chances are she's not. So I'm doing this as a last-ditch effort to hopefully reach out to the Duffers and let them know what I've seen. Because I'm the sort of person, I pay attention to details. And I'm not talking about the piddly little details like the red M&M that was in season 3 when it shouldn't have been because red was outlawed. Big deal. It doesn't change the storyline. The details I pay attention to are like Hopper having been a Vietnam vet, and when he got out of Vietnam, he went to New York City and became a New York City police officer, where he met his wife, married her, had the daughter named Sarah. When Sarah got older, she developed cancer and died. Hopper, in order to alleviate the pain, turns to alcohol. The alcohol destroys his marriage. Ultimately, he's left with his choice of either resigning from the New York City Police Department or being fired. He chooses to resign, comes back to Hawkins, and ends up becoming a police officer here in Hawkins, and then later the police chief. Now, where are those details? It's easy. The majority of them are in season 2, episode 4. Check it out for yourself. 11 does a great job of showing them to everybody. But most people end up missing it. That's the kind of details I pay attention to. Those that have an impact on the storyline. Now, I said that there were 3 characters that were psychologically broken. I'm assuming, given the way that season 3 ends, that they already know how Max is broken. After all, she just watched her brother die, but not just die, he died being a hero. He was fighting for 11, the very person that not 5 minutes before he was trying to kill. We know from 11's trip through Billy's memory lane, so to speak, that she comes in well after the fact that Billy is already a big bully and monster. Because Billy is already being played by Dacker. So he's no longer the hero that stepped between his father and mother, trying to save his mother from being beaten up by an abusive husband. The fact that she sees him being a hero there at the end is so diametrically opposed to the image she's had of Billy the whole entire time, of him being a bully and a monster and a creep, that she can't wrap her head around it. Therefore, she's stuck in time psychologically. Now, she can go on and live the rest of her life and it'll be fine. She just won't be able to rectify what she saw with what she knows of Billy until she gets one piece of the puzzle that she's missing. And we know from the cutscenes when David Harbour is doing the voiceover, reading the speech that he was supposed to give Eleven and Mike back in the cabin, that she's still not got that piece of the puzzle, because in those cutscenes, there's a scene of her sitting in her bedroom alone, staring off into space. She still can't justify what she saw. That explains her. Now, 11 is a little bit different, because 11 deals with how the mind tends to compartmentalize things that it's difficult to accept at the time. With 11, we know that she had a big talk with Hopper before he goes into the base underneath the mall. What was said isn't as important as what the underlying conversation is. She's hinting that she wants to go with Hopper into the base, that she wants to see this thing through, and she can still fight. Hopper tells her, no, you've got to get out of here because that monster is after you specifically. So he does not let her go with him. Okay? Then the next thing that's going to get compartmentalized in that same box is the scene out in the parking lot. There we see 11 in the parking lot looking around. She sees Joyce hugging Will, but there's no Hopper to hug her. She realizes Hopper is apparently dead. Those two items are going to get compartmentalized together. Why? Because they both deal with Hopper. Now, the mind doesn't always group things like it should. For example, the fact that she lost her powers, that's going to get compartmentalized somewhere else. Why? Because Hopper's not there. So it doesn't apply to Hopper according to the mind's way of thinking. That means every time she opens up that box and peeks inside, such as like when she's reading the speech that Hopper was supposed to give her and Mike, a little monologue is going to play in her mind. That monologue is, if only I was there, I could have done something. I could have saved him. She's not putting together the fact that she didn't have her powers to save him, that she ultimately would have been a weapon that the Russian could use against Hopper, thereby causing his demise. But the mind doesn't see it that way. So, in effect, is it a situation where she herself is not letting her use her own powers because she blames herself for Hopper's death? That's one avenue that has to be explored. Another is the fact that when that monster bit her, not only could it have injected a piece of itself, like a tracking device, which we see her remove in the mall, but what if there was something else that it injected too? Remember, the people were eating chemicals. What were those chemicals designed to do? Just turn them into this monster? Or is there something more? Billy and his statement in the cabin, when he tracks her back to the cabin through her own link with him, turns around and makes the statement that it's making something specifically for her. That shadow monster knows she's a telepath. What if that something more that is meant specifically for her is a neuroinhibitor, and that it was injected when it bit her? The length of time from the time she was bit until the time that she realizes she doesn't have her powers anymore would apply to the length of time that it would take the neuroinhibitor to travel from the bite in her leg up into the brain and start blocking the neurotransmitters in her brain. That's another avenue that has to be explored. Finally, there's Joyce. Joyce, by all accounts, should be in a psych hospital right now. Why? Because she is going through first kill syndrome. In her mind, she is the one that killed Hopper. Now, there is nothing in the storyline to show that she's ever killed anyone before, so it's a safe bet that she probably hasn't. I mean, personally, with Lonnie being alive in season 1, that kind of tells me that she didn't kill anybody, because he would have been the first one she'd have killed, right? Duh. But she didn't. So that means Hopper is her first kill. Having been through a first kill scenario myself, I can tell you from firsthand experience, she would be experiencing nightmares that become night terrors. She would be experiencing mood swings into anger or into uncontrollable tears without any reason or rhyme as to why they're happening. She would also be experiencing, I can't remember what they said it's called, but she would be seeing Hopper everywhere she looks. His face would be everywhere. It would be haunting her. But at the end of season 3, when she's looking in the house, that doesn't seem to be the case. That tells me that the brothers don't realize what they did with Joyce. Now, I'm hoping that this video can get to the brothers in time, that they can help get this straightened out. Oh, one more thing. The breadcrumbs that have been left, such as the outbound message from Murray Bowman's answering machine to Joyce, that a mutual friend might still be alive. If it's Hopper that they put in the cell in Kamchatka, then everything in season 3 is destroyed. Why? Because in order for it to be Hopper in that cell, it means that he is the person that tells the Russians about the gate being opened in Hawkins and all like that, which we know was done because, after all, Alexei basically states it in season 3 when Hopper is interrogating him through Murray Bowman. He states that there were multiple keys made. Now, in order for there to be multiple keys made, they take time. That's not something that you can put together overnight from a chemistry set. It takes time. So, that means Hopper would have to go back in time a minimum of 2 years, possibly more, in order to allow for these multiple keys to be made. Now, he also reveals to Hopper that the keys were only part of the equation. Location was the other, and he knew that the gate had been opened in Hawkins. That's why they built the mall and everything in Hawkins. So, if Hopper is the one that tells him this, then that means Hopper is the prisoner there in the Kamchatka, And he also would have knowledge of Dustin having recorded the message that the Russians were transmitting, that Robin not only translated it into English, but turned around and cracked the code, as she says, in one day. Stupid Russians. That Steve, Dustin, Erica, and Robin go into the base, and that Dustin and Erica help guide Murray through the air ducts to the place where he can disrupt the electric system and set off the alarms, freeing up the path for Joyce and Hopper to get the security keys to destroy the main key. Now, if he's got that knowledge, granted, he may be a Vietnam vet, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he's trained in anti-espionage techniques. So that means the same drug that they used on Robin and on Steve in the base to get them to tell the truth would also work on Hopper. That means Hopper would tell everything. Guess what the Russians wouldn't be doing at the mall in season 3? They would not be using the transmission, which means Robin wouldn't translate or crack anything, which means the three of them, namely Hopper, Joyce, and Murray, are walking into a trap and getting killed. Great ending, isn't it? I'm hoping that someone sees this, that knows the Duffers, and can get this into their hands before they get too far into season 4. Because I'm afraid that what they're going to do is going to destroy their show. And I'm too big a fan to let that happen. I've got some ideas. I'm willing to talk to the Duffers. Duffer Brothers, if you're seeing this, talk to Millie Bobby Brown. Ask her to look in her messages on Instagram or on Facebook, because I've posted to both of those. I've also posted to several other cast members in Instagram a message including my contact information. Please, if you're seeing this, reach out to me. I'm not out for spoilers. I don't care what you've already got written for season 4. I want to see to it that everything works smoothly and is what it's supposed to be. Please, reach out to me.